Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Mike Muldoon podcast. I hope you're having a great week. I'm doing this one a little bit earlier this week. The last couple of weeks I've had to kind of cut it close, but I've got some traveling going on this week, so I wanted to make sure I had my podcast set up and ready for delivery by the time you all got to Friday, and you're here. So I just want to thank you again for your support as always. I'm here for you every week. Hopefully we're making some change. Hopefully we're impacting lives a little bit. By hopefully we, I mean me, but I think it's a collective effort. Some of the feedback people share with me is awesome, and I love hearing from you. So anyway, today I want to talk about something that's close to me. I've talked about this in the past. I've talked about being somebody who suffered from it from a very early age, and it impacted my life a little bit. But I've been lucky to kind of move forward through a lot of it, and that's panic attacks. But I want to talk about it a little bit differently. So, think about panic attacks is, they're just these harrowing experiences, right? They can strike without warning, make us, feel overwhelmed. You get this intense fear and physical symptoms. And, even though they can, appear like these abrupt surge of anxiety, there's actually this complex interplay between our conscious and subconscious minds that underlies these distressing episodes. So today I just want to talk about the stark contrast between our conscious and our subconscious mind in the context of panic attacks. And I just want to shed some light on the hidden dynamics that contribute to these frightening moments, and share with anyone out there who might be suffering or have suffered with panic attacks that you're not alone. I've been there. I've spoken in the past about conscious and subconscious mind, and the thing is, a little refresher here for those who don't know. Our conscious mind is the part of awareness that we associate with rationality, logic, and control. It's it's that voice that tells us everything's fine, that there's no real threat, and that we should remain calm, right? We're having a panic attack. That's that voice, right? But when a panic attack begins, that conscious mind attempts to just analyze the situation, and it has to find that logical explanation for this, this feeling that I'm having. But the thing is, it often fails to provide a satisfactory answer, leading to increased anxiety, because you're sitting there and you're like, why do I feel this way? There's nothing wrong. I'm in this room. I'm safe. There's nothing here. And the brain or the mind cannot rationalize that. So we're now, when we start looking at the subconscious mind, on the other hand, the subconscious mind, basically, as I've talked about in the past, it operates below the surface of our awareness, and it's responsible for processing, all of our emotions, our memories, and our instinctual responses, these hardwired responses to certain things. And in the context of a panic attack, the subconscious mind often, holds unresolved fears, traumas, or triggers that, not be readily accessible to our conscious awareness. And these, these emotional hidden landmines, so to speak, can be detonated by seemingly, an innocuous situation, setting off this panic response. And there it is. There's that disconnection between the conscious and the subconscious mind. Like during a panic attack, there's this stark disconnection that occurs between your conscious and, again, your subconscious mind. The mind that says, hey, I'm here, everything's great and everything's fine. And the subconscious mind, everything going on below, right? See, the conscious mind is going to tell you, look, there's no danger here. Everything is fine. This panic is irrational. Why do I feel this way? This is safe. Everything is good. But the subconscious mind unleashes this torrent of fear and physical sensations into our body. The dissonance sort of intensifies this panic attack, right? Party is like, why? There's nothing wrong. And the other party is like, well, this is a problem, and it's going. And as individuals, we have to grapple with this irrationality of this intense emotional and physical responses that start happening, right? So if you had a panic attack, you've had that rapid heartbeat, right? You can feel your heart is pounding, or maybe you get the shortness of breath, that can lead to hyperventilation or chest pains, or you're sweating, but you're not doing anything. But there's no physical exertion here, but you're sweating, or you're shaking, or you're feeling dizzy, or you're going to faint because there's a sudden drop in blood pressure, which can cause this dizziness and lightheadedness during a panic attack. Some people feel nauseous. Some people feel a detachment from reality, or as if they're sort of observing themselves from outside their body. And for many, including myself, and the most terrifying part is how it just kicks off the like a flight or fight response. I gotta go, but where am I going? The thing is, oddly enough, panic attacks and a flight or fight, the fight or flight response, closely related, but they're just involved in different mechanisms. There are different triggers for them both. Panic attack is a sudden onset of intense fear or discomfort that reaches a peak, usually within minutes, right? It just comes on and includes all those symptoms above that we were talking about, of this impending doom. Like there is a problem, even though your conscious mind says there's no problem, but your body's reacting like there's a problem here, right? And these panic attacks, they can occur just out of the blue. And they're often accompanied by this sense of, losing control or going crazy. That's always my mind. Like, what if I feel crazy? What if I can, what if I gotta go? I gotta go. Where am I going to go? And the thing about the fight or flight response, interestingly enough, as crazy as it seems when you're going through it, it's actually what kept human beings alive and still does to this day, because it's a natural physiological reaction to a perceived threat or danger. And it involves the activation of the sympathetic nervous system. I mean, it's insane because it literally, when it goes off, it triggers the release of all these stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. And these responses prepare the body to either confront the threat, you're going to fight it, or you're going to flee from it, right? You're going to flight, hence the name, fight or flight. But when the sympathetic nervous system is activated, it's wild. I mean, it really is a fascination of the human body. It just initiates this response, which is a physiological reaction designed basically to prepare you to deal with this threat. And when it's activated, it's go time. I mean, the sympathetic nervous system, the first thing it does is it triggers the release of stress hormones, primarily adrenaline. And then, like a noradrenaline from the adrenal glands, basically preparing the adrenal glands. Gosh, that's another one, adrenal glands, preparing the body for, this action of this perceived threat. It's getting it ready. And then the body, it gets like an increased heart rate, right? Blood starts pumping more efficiently to deliver oxygen, to your vital organs and muscles. It's preparing your body for battle. There's a dilation of airways, increasing airflow into your lungs, right? Because you got to get more oxygen into the bloodstream. And the wild part is the constriction of blood vessels in areas of the body that are not immediately involved in, whether or not you're going to run or you're going to fight, like your skin and your digestive system. It actually redirects the blood flow to essential organs like your muscles and your brain. Those are the things you really need, making sure that you have an adequate supply of all the oxygen and nutrients that you need. It's even wild. Every time I think about this part, it's like, there's a dilation of your pupils, right? It's going to improve your visual acuity. It allows for better detection of potential threats in the environment. And then sweating, here it is again, sweating. But the sweating is important because it regulates your body temperature during these periods of basically this heightened activity and stress. Now, the thing is, while panic attacks and the fight or flight response, share these similarities in terms of this psychological arousal, they differ in their triggers and durations, right? So a panic attack can set off this response. Like a panic attack, again, it's triggered, and if you've dealt with them, by an internal psychological factors such as stress or anxiety or even specific phobias, rather than an external threat like I'm walking down the street, I'm by myself, everything's great. Whoa, we got a lion. And the body sets off because it's setting off for a reason, because you got to fight or you got to flight. I think you're going to try to fight or probably more so try to flight. I just don't know if you're going to get away. But you see what I'm saying here. There's an actual reason why the system is kicking through this. The thing about panic attacks, though, they also tend to be shorter and may not necessarily involve, again, a clear external trigger. Most of the time it's not. You're going about your day, something hits, boom, it goes. Some of us, we know what those triggers are. Maybe it's not so much of an internal trigger all the time. It's maybe Some people, you have a fear of just going certain places, public spaces, whatever it might be. That might be a trigger that you recognize, but realistically, there's a deeper trigger inside as to why that has become a trigger to you. Again, panic attacks often, they reveal the presence of an unresolved emotional issue or trauma, buried in the subconscious. And again, it's the part of the mind that's not as easily accessible. And what happens is during times, these issues resurface, and it's usually during what? Stress or some sort of anxiety, and it triggers a panic attack. And as the subconscious mind attempts to process and confront these buried fears, it is creating all this stuff that your external life, your conscious life is going, what is going on here? So the key is really, and I know it's a lot, but the key really is to address panic attacks effectively. And the only way to really do that is you got to bridge the gap between the conscious and subconscious minds. So you really got to understand what is going on here. A lot of times this is going to take therapy. Obviously, there's medications you can take to sort of, alleviate some of the physical symptoms. But, to really get over it, there's therapy, such modalities like, CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, or exposure therapy, being scared of something and then putting yourself in the situation to eventually confront it so you no longer fear it. These are things that can help people, including myself, confront, the root cause of my panic attacks. If you, all these insights you kind of would gain from therapy, you can reduce the intensity and obviously the frequency of the panic attacks and kind of regain a sense of control. Like, so if you're somebody who doesn't like driving on highways, the more you do it, the more you get it, the less of it's going to be, and the easier it's going to be to kind of get past that. Here's the interesting thing when I talk about panic attacks, I don't like to throw out too many examples because I don't want somebody to go, oh my God, that's me. And then suddenly I set them off. But you understand what I'm saying. So you really got to understand that there's a stark contrast between our conscious and our subconscious minds. And it's just crucial, for really trying to comprehend the dynamics of the panic attack, right? I mean, these episodes they're not irrational reactions, but a complex interplay, right? Between the hidden fears and conscious attempt at control. So just basically by acknowledging the role of the subconscious in panic attacks, it really starts embarking you on a journey of healing and integration. Like ultimately, you finding relief from the overwhelming grip of anxiety when you realize it's just not, you're not going crazy. There's other things going on here, and we've got to sort of get to the root cause of it. But look, overcoming panic attacks, maybe it's meant for some people, maybe it's easy, but for some, but I don't know. I never really found it easy, but it's doable, and in some cases, maybe you never really get rid of them, but you get better at managing them and not letting them interfere with your life. And the more you understand about that, the complex interaction between your conscious and your subconscious, the mind, and you realize kind of that there is actually something going on here. You're just not sitting around and suddenly, oh, I'm scared and it's going crazy. You start to understand that there's a process here. And if there's a process here, it's a process that can be fixed. So, all right. Well, that's all I got for you today. Again, I'll appreciate you coming along for the ride as always. Feel free to, I'd always, like to look at the reviews on Apple, Spotify, everywhere else where you listen to your favorite episodes. Tell your friends, reach out. As always, I got nothing but love for you.